Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy. And today, we are reviewing our clash against the Western Bulldogs. Final scores were the Dogs 14 goals, 16, 100 points to Carlton, 12 goals, 14, 86 points. Obviously, if you can do the mathematics, it is a 14-point loss for the Carlton Football Club, which overall, Daffy Boy, was a quite a worrying game, to be honest. With so many positives that we've seen throughout the year, and to see that, especially like small things like in Cripper's 200th, a game to kind of lock yourself in top four, because other teams in the top four they can't seem to find their way to lock themselves in. And we had the opportunity right there in our hands, and we unfortunately couldn't get it done. But first things first, how are you? But your initial thoughts of the game, mate. What were your overall thoughts?
Well, yeah, that game was the really, really hard watch of football. That was just, it was just no connection for a lot of that game, apart from little periods, maybe early and then maybe late when, I know we were pretty bad all game, and nothing takes away from the fact that we were terrible, but we had a lot of chances in that last quarter to really put the pressure on, Cripper goal, and then you get under 10 points or 11 points or whatever it is. It's definitely doable, but yeah, we just continually kept stuffing it up. And it was just really frustrating. And yeah, it's gonna raise a lot of questions, both, the playing group and, I think the pressure has to go straight on the coaching group. Sorry. After a performance like last week where, we looked a little bit, I don't know, disorientated, and the team wasn't connected, and you know what I mean? I just felt like blokes, my big thing yesterday was blokes are almost playing too hard. That not too hard, but like they're going too hard, in their roles where they weren't sticking to their role. And they're overdoing stuff like, there's certain play. I feel like Elijah Hollands is one of those players yesterday. Just tries to do too much when you don't need to do too much.
Yes.
So it's that kind of, I feel like when you're like, not now, but when we were a worst team and you see the worst teams, they often try too hard and it often cooks themselves, and you see them, lose by, 40, 50 points. So yeah, really frustrating.
That you're exactly right. Literally, as soon as Elijah Hollands like that moment, and then I'm sure there was plenty of moments, but when he tried to kick, I don't know who it was in the middle, but it was the one when it was like 60 meters out from the Dogs' goal, and he tries to find a target in the middle, and he didn't even get near. I think it was Matt Kennedy or something by memory through the middle,
Yeah.
and he was just
Yeah.
nowhere near it, and I just could not. But like at that point in time, I'm like. I mean, I said to Jacob, I'm like, it's great that when he doesn't and it's pulled off, great. We're absolutely saying, God, how good is this guy? But when he doesn't do it, and there's a time and a place. If we're 5 minutes down with, if we're 5 points down with a minute to go, you go for that kick, sure. But you're kind of already under the pressure from the Dogs, and you decide to go for a kick like that. But I just think he just consistently tries to go for the choices to, like, the word that I will say is very flamboyant. I think when he pulls it off, as I said, it's great. But when he makes the mistake, it's at crucial times in the game, and unfortunately, that comes back to bite us in the bum. And we're not going to. That's the one thing that we said. Like, I don't think we're going to try and shit on any players. We're not going to like speak about who should be dropped, blah, blah, blah. Elijah Hollands is playing next week. He's a great player and he should be in the team next week, no doubt in my mind. But we probably just expected more from a player like that because we know how much better he can be. But Daff, I'm just going to try and touch on my initial thoughts, and then I'll throw straight to you for, like, if you want to add on anything else. But I think the four things that I've written down is massive warning signs. Like, that was like alarm bells going all through. Like, The exact same thing happened where the first quarter we're bloody lucky that the Dogs weren't converting in the first quarter, but also we were still converting from our end, which is good. I think our first quarter, same thing as last week. We were doing well. We started well, and the second quarter was the crucial quarter that changed the game. What happened? They kicked 7 or 8 goals in that second quarter, and they turned so pretty much it's the conversion in the first quarter. It's not like they really changed much in the first and second quarter. They were just better in the second quarter. So that's the one thing I've got. Selection integrity. We're going to touch on that a little bit more in depth later on. But that's a big conversation now. Obviously, as I said, chance to potentially lock up a top 4 spot, but now we are back in the pack. So obviously with the Dons winning last night, that's another team with the Dons not winning last night, that was a team that probably should have got the job done, but they still can't make the top 4. So it's so open. And of course, Zach Williams injured with hamstring awareness. How many times have we seen that in his Navy Blue career? But that's what your initial thoughts. If you want to add on anything else, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, just terrible. Just really, 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 really bad. It was the worst possible result, apart from getting smacked by 10 goals. It was just terrible. It was just the way. Let's just start on the top for me. Your captain. All right, let's just talk about the captain, okay? He's probably got the 3 votes.
Oh, yeah.
In that game.
Yep.
Right? 3 votes. For his whole career, he's had these games where we lose, like these big games where we lose this game. So he might carry us and we lose. And it's happened again. It's happened again, Patto. It's just, it's just what? It's like, no, I know it's, we've had a good year. We've had a good year, but there's a time and a day to do it, boys. That wasn't the time and day to drop that game. Sorry. It was an embarrassment. And then it's bad when he denies it getting carried off. That's when you know it's bad, boys. I think that's a message to every single one of those players going, no, you're not carrying me off. We've got to figure this shit out, because that was just so far from where we have been this year. And on your point of selection integrity, we'll touch on that later, but jeepers. Well, I think the whole lineup is just out of whack at the moment. But it's just like I said with roles, it's just not clear to me at the moment. Some blokes, and there was one particular guy in the middle of the ground which we didn't select, the ruck. It's probably the ruck where I'm talking about. We didn't select it, I've always talked about it. I didn't select it this week. Oh Jesus, it's and I'll talk about that as well in terms of because my old man and my mum were at the game and they were sitting near the forward line, and they were talking about TDK's kind of body language at certain stages of the game, but body language is in frustrated when we weren't doing it out the middle, which is interesting in itself. And Zach Williams, that's just frustrating. But he's probably replaceable, I'd imagine, with the players we've got through the ranks.
Yeah. Well, obviously Martin is making his return today to the VFL, so he's playing today, and then obviously Motlop is still in the VFL, so they're 2 players that pretty much can come straight in if they also get picked. But also you've got Arazo Fantasia in there, who is another player that's been playing a lot of senior football this year, so I don't know what Voss will do with that. But just before we move on to our next segment, how did you find the pressure? Because I completely agree what you said about Patrick Cripps saying you boys can not you boys can get stuff, but no, I'm not accepting getting carried off, because he knows that if he was to get carried off, he would like a solid performance at best.
Yep.
At the least, or a win. That's all we're asking for. A win, or just play as a connected group as you've been the whole season of 2024, and they couldn't have seemed to do that. So how did you find the pressure from the TV? Because, obviously from the game, so I was at the game, you weren't. You were watching on the TV.
Yep.
I know that from the ground aspect, the pressure was not there. There was something not right with our connection, but also with our pressure. So from the TV and the commentators, because I didn't get a chance to hear that, what were they saying? What were your thoughts on the overall pressure from Carlton?
Yeah, it was almost, I felt like they were kind of pointing to this. I think we were just a few steps back on every time they're pushing forward, we're always a couple steps behind. And
Mm.
the few key moments to me, which might have made me punch a table a few times, was those Riley West goals running
Oh,
out of forward, running out of the middle. Like, fuck me dead. We made him look like a fucking all Australian forward. Like he was good yesterday. Like he's been good this year. But Jesus, it's not, it's not Tom Papley. It's Riley West here. He's running out of the middle, and we just refuse to pick him up. And I'll point out a name. I know didn't want to point out a name. This is not bashing him, but the way he defended and played yesterday was so far from himself. It's Nick Newman. He was horrendous. And I think it actually not just not just like skill wise, or it was a bit of everything with him, but it was his positioning on the centre bounces. It was really odd to me. I watched him a few times real closely. So he was on Riley West at some stages, especially when the centre bounce, like they'd be switching around because they really did not know what was going on. Once again, disorientated, out of whack, the lineup. So he's on him, and he's kind of just pushing. He was really high at the ground yesterday, in my opinion. He was pushing so high. He was at half forward at some stages, but the centre bounces, he would kind of lose Riley West because he was a little bit ball watching, kind of pushing up. And what happens, Pato? When you push up a little bit too far as defender, works the other way. And what happened with those goals? Like, I'm not saying it's individual on him, but I think as a collective, those goals are too easy. And we lose by 2 goals, Pato. You cut down a few of those, you probably win the game
mm.
playing like 4 quarters. That shows you that we're going all right if we're losing by 2 goals and, playing the way we did. So that was a clear thing for me. And in terms of pressure, that I thought early we were great. The first 5 minutes, I thought that moment where Akers, I thought he was good yesterday. I thought his pressure was phenomenal running forward. Remember that kind of pressure, and he punched it, and then always landed that big tackle. I thought that set the tone. I thought Akers was really good, running both ways. He was probably the one guy who was running forward really well, but also defensively really well. So he'll be in my best. That's just a little bit of a sneak peek. But yeah, it's from that moment then, it was just that kind of few steps behind for me.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, I completely agree about Akers and the other wingmen of Hollands and Cottrell not really doing their part of running both ways. And it might seem harsh, but that's just the blatant obvious. They
Yeah.
aren't doing enough
No,
on that
no.
wing. Especially when Akers is doing absolutely everything he can from his side of the bargain, and he's trying every single thing that he can do in the game, and he's running he's running both ways, as you said, and he's getting a lot of touches, and he's looking on the other side of the wing, and he's seeing Cottrell and Hollands getting no impact. Hollands had a bit of the footy, but just no impact with the footy, and he always seemed like he was just
Yeah.
behind the 8 ball in the game, and
He is.
I don't want that to come across as harsh, and I don't know if it is, but I think
True.
now, yeah, I like, it might seem harsh, but
True.
it's true. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, quickly on Hollands.
yeah.
On Hollands, sorry. Yeah, I completely agree. He's got he sticks out like a sore thumb. He might get his footy, but there's always these moments every week. Like there was that one at half, the Dogs turned it over to him. He dropped that mark at half forward. You know what I mean? Like that. Akers takes that mark.
Yeah.
He takes that mark. It's just this. It's fine margins, but fine margins can get you dropped from a side, Pato, and he should be dropped next week.
Mm.
Sorry, I don't care about touches. His impact on the game is little to none. And to be honest, it probably does him a favour. Do him a favour and get him out of the ones for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's going to be dropped for a month. Like if I was playing badly, pretend, and I'm going, gee, how am I getting picked every week? I'm playing like shit. I wouldn't mind going back to the twos and having 30.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Get some form going, get some, and then you get back in the side if you get back in the side. But yeah, I think you're spot on with Hollins.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's also like when we kind of go back to this selection integrity overall, you kind of look at a guy like Matt Cottrell who came straight into the
Oh,
side after injury, and the week before against the Giants and this week he has been a shadow of himself. And I don't know
yeah.
if he needs a few games, but if he needs a few games to get himself warmed up, do that in the VFL. Don't do it
Yes.
in senior footy.
No.
Because it comes back to bite you in the bum. And that's why
Yeah.
I love what we've done with Jack Martin, with how
Yes.
we've managed his
Yep.
football. But it's not good enough with Matt Cottrell. I'm sorry, but he's
No.
not in that bracket of, when he
No.
comes back from injury, he's a lock. He's not. So
Yep.
I just can't understand what we're doing in that aspect. And we'll touch on it in a lot more depth later on in the episode. But I just want to touch on a few things before we get to that Duff Boy. And we'll touch on the one positive, I guess, and it's the leaders doing absolutely everything they possibly can to try and get the
Yep.
win. But unfortunately, two players is not enough to
Mm.
win the game. So Patrick Cripps, 28 disposals, 2 goals, 11 clearances, 8 tackles, 7 score involvements. That is another 3-vote game, if not maybe 2 or 1, for the Brownlow medal, which is unbelievable. And then also Jacob Wiedering, my God, he is the best
Yeah.
defender in the AFL, and nothing will change my mind. He is unbelievable with what he does, but also how he impacts the contest and how he keeps his tabs on his opponent, but just how he impacts the game is just unbelievable. So 21 disposals, 13 intercept possessions, and 11 marks. Daff, these two players, our two leaders, the two guys that really show, like even Harry Mackay as well. I wanted to try and touch on him as well. He played a
Yeah,
very
of
good
course.
game. He played probably better in that
Oh,
first. The second half, he went a little bit quiet. But those two names, and if you want to touch on Harry Mackay as well, or anyone else in your mind that might need some might need like a notable comment.
yeah. Yep.
What would you say?
Yeah, I think both of those players, I think Cripper and Weeders were phenomenal. Uh, I think we lose by 8 goals without Wiedering.
100%.
I think that back, like I'll say it again. Like people going back six, back six. I thought they struggled, right? But when you like the Dogs are getting first use every time. What are you supposed to do as a defender sometimes? Well, the ball is flying in there like we couldn't even break the pattern in some stages of the game. And that's just on Wiedering. I thought he had 6 intercept marks in the first quarter. And then copped a knee from fucking Waitman trying to go for another hanger. That's another watch for me. That
Yeah.
kneeing shit too. Like we talk about unrealistic. Like there was a talk about Darcy Moore the last few weeks where he obviously the Petrarca and then you had Wits. It's the way blokes go up for those marks, and I think it's about the technique. And I know it's hard to govern, but it's going to get to that stage. Like blokes are just going to need blokes in a final, and it won't cost them a week, or you know what I mean. So that's just my little segue. But yeah, Cripper was phenomenal yesterday, and like I said, to not rally behind him in a game like that, just told the story of the game really. And like you went through his stats, they're pretty good there. I think it's a 3-vote game again, and gee whiz, I thought when he kicked that goal, I was like, oh, here we come, here we come. It was just one of those moments like, come with me, boys, you know. And it was a bit of extra celebration in that too. Like, it's something, you know what I mean? Like, which is a positive I can take out of the game. You've always got to take some sort of positive, and it's always good to see that he's just unbelievable footballer. And hopefully the next 100 is some sort of success for him because of through his hard work. And on Harry Mackay, I thought he was very good yesterday. And fuck, his partner in crime had a very interesting day. He had 10 scoring shots, Charlie, and fuck, he could have really, really, really broken open the game at some stages, but he just couldn't really. And yeah, it was kind of the story of our day, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And like, I just think overall, like the midfield domination in that center bounce attendances. Now, that is a conversation that I want to bring up right away. It's a bit off the run sheet, but I just want to ask you a question. So the midfield centre bounce attendances, I think that needs a bit of attention. So what I saw was Cripps, Chera, Walsh, Fogarty, Elijah Hollands. They were the 5 that rolled through there. And then obviously Matt Keeney, when he came on, they were the 6 that rolled through there. Now, I was actually paying attention to every single time that there was a centre bounce clearance. I want to see who's in there. And I want to see if this is the reason why we're losing it. So I reckon, it doesn't really matter about the personnel because I think the Dogs still played very well in that centre bounce attendances, and clearances as well. But there was one moment where I saw Lockie Fogarty on Marcus Bontempelli at the centre bounce attendance. And what did I see? Marcus Bontempelli got the clearance straight away. So you've got a player like George Hewitt, who is in the VFL, who can't get a game, and you've got problems in that midfield, especially in the centre bounce clearances. It's not anything like beyond. It's pretty much just beyond the centre bounce attendances. They're actually fine. Like the clearances in the centre bounce, that's the problem. And the amount of goals that they received from the centre bounce attendance, from the centre bounce clearances was unbelievable. Like every single time we kicked a goal, and it would take us like 10 minutes to kick a goal. Within half a minute to a minute, they would go out and buddy Riley West would kick a buddy goal from 50 meters out. It's unbelievable, Daff. So
it's shocking.
Next week, this is a bit of a preview for next week, but I don't think Elijah Holland should be getting as many centre bounce attendances as he is getting right now. That's just my opinion. I don't think he should be. I think that's the reason why we're getting smacked in that midfield. I'm not saying it's Elijah or Fogarty, but they're not genuine midfielders. Elijah can be, but he's still young. When Lockie Fogarty, if he's lining up, don't line him up on Bontempelli. Line him up on Torre even. I know that's still a ball, but you've got, just don't line, that. I don't know if I'm overreacting about this, but I look at the centre backs and I'm like, all right, who's on the players? Marcus Bontempelli is behind Tim English. Okay, he's most likely going to get that tap as Tim English loves to do the flick. He's going to probably get the ball. Yeah. What happened? He got the ball. It's just unbelievable. So how did you see that midfield centre backs clearances? Just that in its own right was just, I think that's a conversation in its own right. What was your overall thoughts on that? And do you think next week we need to make dramatic changes to those centre bounce attendances?
Yeah, it was a very kind of Carlton-like midfield last couple of weeks. I do agree in terms of the minutes and stuff like that. And but my clear look at it is some of these guys are doing enough. And I'm not even talking about Fogarty and Elijah. I'm talking about Sam Walsh. I'm talking about Chera. I'm talking about guys like that. You know what I mean? I agree with the minutes. 100%. I think we almost not punish Walsh and Chera, but almost just go, fucking get the job done. We'll put you in there, get it done. Which they didn't yesterday. And it's just it's just annoying at the moment what's going on in the middle. Because I think if we can't win out of the middle, we're not going to win many finals if we play like that, to be honest. If we play, we're still got to lock in finals at this stage of the season. We're still got to win a couple games. So, which I think we will. But for me, I think it's the one guy that, I think it's two guys, to be honest. You got to have Kennedy and Hewitt playing. Whether you like it or not, you have to play them. That's our mids. Those are the guys that get their jobs done in the middle of the ground. And Hewitt must be thinking, wow, surely there's a few teams going, fuck, we would have him in the midfield for us. I get it when you have a lot of mids and maybe one of them plays as a sub, right? That sometimes has to happen. But I think now you look at it, go, he's too important for our midfield. He has to play. and clearly because he's playing twos, he's not unfit or injured. So that really the question comes on Michael Voss and the coaching team. The
Mm,
selections haven't been good. Obviously that's obviously the conversation we'll have, but it all kind of revolves around that. And I think for me it's guys like Walsh and obviously Elijah Hollands are out of form. And I thought Fogarty he was bad yesterday. He's had a very, very good year, but he just looked so off yesterday. He was making errors and double guessing, Patto. It's the second guessing for me all day. Every single player, second guessing, going, oh, and then they go safe option. Oh, safe option. And that's also in terms of Mitch McGovern out. Have we won a game without him? Probably Giants only.
mm,
He's the one for me. He's huge in that back six.
yeah.
So, like, we look shaky, didn't we, with ball in hand? Fuck me.
Mm. Yeah, there's a lot of things to touch on. The one thing that I'll ask is, I mean, I guess is I don't think you can put the blame on Shearer and Walsh in that midfield. And like you can to an extent because they're leaders of that midfield. Like they are the guys that should be doing a lot better than what that they actually are. But I was seeing most of the time Walsh and Shearer were on the half forward flanks, and Elijah and
Yeah, yeah,
Fogg were in the middle for the centre back.
yeah, yeah,
And I can't understand that. So I need I want your opinion of what you think about that. Because Walsh and Shearer, Walsh still got 27 touches yesterday. So
yeah.
he did solid, but as I completely agree, he's not the Walsh that we know and love, and he
Nah.
isn't having the like 27. When I saw 27 touches, I'm like, oh my word, they are
Yeah,
giving touches because I couldn't believe that he had
yeah, yeah,
27 touches. But
yeah,
it, it's just I can't believe why we're doing that because I think Fogg and Elijah have more of an impact up forward, a hell of a lot
yeah,
more
yeah.
impact up forward over Chera and Walsh. Chera and Walsh are
Mm.
midfielders, and of course they're absolute like fantastic footballers, and they can make an impact up forward as well. But Fogg is a half forward mid player,
Yeah.
and he's always been like that.
Mm.
Elijah Hollands has probably played midfield at the Gold Coast Suns, which is great, but we brought him over to play as that Jack Martin role. Let's be real. He's
Yeah,
playing that Jack Martin role, and we're so fortunate that he can roll through that midfield. But
yeah,
I just
yeah.
couldn't believe it. So what's your thoughts on that with Cripps and with Walsh and Sherrard not getting the attendances as they probably should be over Elijah and Fogg?
Yeah, I'd like to get the numbers actually.
Yeah.
The centre bounce is always a weird stat. They're always never on the AFL website or they on each individual player, but I was just looking then for them. But yeah, it's almost maybe that kind of going to one side too much of trust on certain, not trust, but yeah, maybe too much trust in those guys to get the job done in terms of Fogarty and Elijah having too much time in the middle. I've actually almost picked my side for next weekend, so it will be seeing Walsh on the wing a lot more next weekend with Hewitt and Kennedy playing all midfield time the whole time. So well, that obviously gives a sneak peek into the selection and the omissions I will be having. I think we have to have someone else on the wing, obviously. But yeah, Pato, it's really tough to watch in that midfield at the moment, and I agree. I think there's too much time for guys who should be just rolling in there for a 5 minute periods, and it actually hurts us forward of the ball too, doesn't it? It's like like you said with it, you text me during the game, the forward pressure tackles inside 50. It was like last week we had 4 inside 50. I think we had, how many do we have today? Yesterday, I think we had 5. Did we? I
Inside
might have
forward
just checked
50?
before. Yeah, I think I'll have to check
Yeah,
quickly.
I think it was 5 or 6. Yeah.
Tackles, yeah, 5. So they
Yeah.
had 8, I guess. It was one of those games, wasn't it? It was kind of quickly out of. I'm not saying that's an excuse for us not getting tackles inside 50, but we just how many times just gets out easy. Buku fucking Karmas. That's all I got to say. Don't get me started. That's a whole conversation of itself.
You're exactly right. Oh my god, we made Buku Carvis look like a key defender in the Australian team. That is unbelievable. And I mean, he actually played a very good game. So like,
Yes, it was
we
good.
can kind of joke about it all we want, but he had a lot. I mean, he kept Charlie to you could say he kept Charlie
Yeah.
to minimal impact, but if he kicks 3 goals, 7, like it's just
Could
so.
be 7-3.
Yeah, exactly right. But so we were about to touch on some key stats, but I just think that we're running out of time just a little bit. So I think we'll probably stick to the 2 key segments, and then we'll try and touch on the bag of the game, both as quickly as possible. But Daph, I need to ask you. It's a Baggers chat favorite, and it's the ruck. It's the ruck conversation, and I need to get this out. I need to get.
Yep. And I think and
I need
before
to
you
get this.
go, I agree with you. I agree with you before you start.
So this was, I mean, I've written down a thing here, but I think this game was
Yep.
the crucial time to see how this combination would go. I didn't mind Pito coming in. I thought that's fine to me. I wanted to see, because unfortunately you need to get this structure, this Carlton structure right for finals. You need to get it right. But I can't comprehend, and I don't know how many times I have to say it. I've said it to you so many times the past few weeks, but I don't know how many times I have to say it. 2 rucks does not work. Simple. Simple as that. Tom DeConning has been an absolute beast with clearances, but also his own clearances as well.
Yes.
His
Yeah.
own clearances. So everyone can say, oh, Pito's great with getting his own clearances. Tom DeConning's almost better than that. And I think Pito, the only reason why he's in, all due respect to Pito, he's a great ruckman, but I think the reason why he's in there is to improve our center clearances and our clearances. What were our clearances yesterday? Overall, the stats were very, very even throughout the whole.
Yeah.
The only difference was really the efficiency. That was the overall difference. But, I could not believe what I was seeing yesterday. I could not believe it. And I think Harry Mackay, imagine if Harry Mackay had the chance to go through the second ruck as well. The amount of ball he was getting, the second half he was nowhere and he couldn't get the foot. So if he had the opportunity to go in that second, like as a second ruck in that second half, who knows? He's the type of player that can change a game.
Yeah.
So I just think you need to have that wild card, but know that Pito is always there. Always there.
Of course.
But what's your thoughts, Daph, on that overall ruck conversation? Because I can't believe that it's still a conversation, and this is why we speak about. And in the comments, if any part of you disagrees, please comment and explain why. Because this is why we love to speak about it. But I just can't believe that we've done it again. But what's your thoughts overall on that ruck conversation?
I'll just quickly check the clearance stats before I get into it. We won the clearances.
Yeah, but
The center clearances. No. That's nothing. We were terrible in the middle, of course, but that just confuses the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely could not said it better, Patto. That was the line in the sand for me. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. We've lost too many games trying the 2 ruck system. And yesterday, Pito was wow. He was bad yesterday. And I thought he actually cost us a bit of momentum at the end of the third quarter when we kicked that goal. Chincotta got the cheap free kick. And then in the clearance, we won the clearance. And then he decided to kick it out to open space on the wing with 20 seconds to go. All he had to do, this is what I literally I yelled at the TV. I'm like, just get it in the 50. Like, just get it down the line, get a stoppage, quarter's done. Because I'm looking at the clock, right? That's a different experience, isn't it? When you're watching on the telly, you can see the clock. And I'm going, just hold it up. Do not even get it to open space. That's what they want. And what happens, Pato gets to open space, they get a goal, and they get it back up at 10 points at quarter time, which costs us too a bit of momentum. And you got to keep crawling back. If you're under a goal, then but in terms of the ruck, and oh my God. And my old man said he was watching TDK at certain stages of the game, and he said one moment, he said they got 2 clearance goals in a row, and TDK was in the goal square, and he looked up to the screen and what must have been the replay of the goal, and he's shaking his head, like shaking his head. He's like shaking his head, just like really obvious though. Like looking up and going. He's probably thinking, I'm in career best bloody form, right? I take a week off because of soreness, and then I lose my minutes. I lose me ruck minutes. That just, sorry, but we can't accommodate to Pitto who can't play forward. Sorry, but you can't take the best ruckman in our team out of the middle because the other ruckman can't play forward. If Pitto could play forward, easy peasy, right? The situation would not be the situation we have, but he can't. He's redundant in any other position on the ground. So, yeah, it's going to be big selection call. And like you said, with the clearances, he does help the clearances to some certain extent, Pitto, in the ruck sometimes, not yesterday. But on the ground, TDK is another fucking midfielder. He is another midfielder in that team, Patto. And like maybe if you do have TDK for the whole game, maybe then you can maybe have a Hewitt or, Kennedy as the sub maybe because he is that midfielder TDK. And he wheels the ball forward. He does not accept the other team winning clearances. But yeah, end of story. I do not want to see it. Too Ruckman.
Yeah. So let's now move on to, this could be another conversation in its own right, Dr. Boy, but it's the selection integrity. We touched on it a little bit earlier on in the episode, but it's a thing that Voss knows so much more than what every single Carlton supporter
Yeah, of course.
Like 100%. But I'm just looking at it. I'm like, why is this selection happening? Why? I reckon every single time the team comes out, I would love for the coaches to come out and say, this is why he's in. This is why he's in that position. This is what we're trying to go. And you don't want to give too much away because then the opposition will know exactly what they're doing. But I just think that there needs to be an explanation or somewhat of an explanation of why we're going with the team that we do. I need an explanation because I think like Kennedy entered the game yesterday as a sub. So we've got Cripps, Chera, Walsh in there who are genuine midfielders. They're the three. And then you've got Fogg and Hollands who are forward. They play forward, but they had to play more midfield time because Matt Kennedy was sub. Explain that logic. And then I'm like, then I was looking through the VFL team. I'm like, yeah, George Hewitt would be handy actually. Yeah. Yeah, Hewitt would be super handy today. And then, so George Hewitt, Jack Martin, Jesse Motlop, David Cunningham, Arado Fantasia are all in the VFL today. And I just think, sorry.
Good VFL team. If they don't win today, there's a problem.
And that I think a massive statement needs to be made next week in selection. And you need to have some selection integrity of not gifting these players games. It's not how it works anymore. We're not in 2019, 2020 when we're gifting players games. This needs to be a shift of, like, I actually thought Caleb Marchbank was quite good yesterday. I thought he was quite good for what he had in front of him. And I think McGovern's missing next week as well. So Marchbank will probably be playing next week. But there's a few other players in that back line that you can probably mention. Why are these guys getting like not gifted games, but I just can't understand the overall selection. So Daffy Boy, your selection integrity thoughts on all of that. Give me your thoughts.
The one thing that frustrates me the most, obviously the Hewitt stuff annoys me, and that's just pure selection mistake, I think. But the one for me is, like I might have messaged you yesterday about it. It's bringing guys back, and you said it before in the episode, back from injury.
Yes.
Right into the team who aren't in the big six or the big 8 players who have to play. And that consists of, you know who, right? Cripps, Parry, Charlie, whoever. The list goes on. We picked Cottrell. last week who was bad. And for him, he would probably rather just play a couple twos games, to be honest. Like I think I'd rather if I was out for 8, he wasn't out for 2 weeks. He was out for 8 weeks of football, Patto. Football fitness is a little bit different to training fitness and whole, structures of games. The intensity is high, especially in the league we are in this year. The skill gap is small and it's getting even tighter now, considering where we're at. So, yeah, he's like Cotters he's a solid player, but he's not good enough to just pick.
No.
And I think we all kind of we all talk about some of these players and just go, oh yeah, he's in. It's like, sorry, no. And the energy towards like Fantasia getting dropped all the time and guys like that. Sorry, but it's continuity and he's in the team and we're winning games. So that's what pisses me off. It's a selection of players that just come straight back in. I thought the mistake of picking Jack Martin last time he came back in didn't probably need to, really. And what happens, Pato? He gets injured. So and I'm looking forward to see how these guys go in the twos because next week is going to be interesting, and I've got a few omissions in that side. So, and on the whole defence, I think Kemp probably keeps his spot until McGovern comes in. I think McGovern replaces Kemp, and I think we need two tools, to be honest. I think it's costing us in games defensively. So I think Marchbank and Weeders work really well together, and they're the two big guys who can cover. And then Marchie can cover a big guy for Weeders. So I think we have to run with those two, to be honest. So I'll come to the conclusion of that if Marchie keeps playing the way he does.
Wow. Yeah. Because, like, that's exactly what I was thinking yesterday. And that's what I was even thinking. I said it to you and I was like,
Yeah.
I wanted to pick Marchbank in the ins and outs.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
actually wanted to, but I'm like, nah. It's just not, I just don't see it happening. I'm like, he came in. I should have picked him. Why did I pick him?
Yeah.
But
Well, we didn't know McGovern was out.
Well, yeah, but I would have dropped him for Kemp. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's actually I'm quite intrigued that you said that because I that's what I've been saying, and I've kind of kept it quiet, but I'm like, I think Marchbank is a better lockdown defender with Wiedering down there because then Wieders Marchbank will be there to lockdown. You've got McGovern there as that interceptor, and Kemp. I think when it's just McGovern and Wieders alongside Kemp, I think Kemp is exposed. When he's intercepting and he's like his aerial marking, like that's great. But it's the lockdown defending that needs to be key in key defenders. And I think Marchbank did that yesterday. So I completely agree. And I'm glad that you said that actually, because I think Marchbank almost has to say, I mean, he will stay next week with McGovern missing another week, but I think he has to I guess, have his opportunity to play in senior football. But Def Boy, let's now move on to our bagger of the game votes. And once again, this week, it might be quite hard to find some votes, but if you've got your bagger of the game votes down there, what have you got for last night's clash?
Yeah, for me, I find it easier when we lose games. I think it's probably easier to spot better players, to be honest. I think when we win, there's probably 10 guys who can go into the three. So, one vote for me, Blake Acres. I thought he was great all day. He's good when he comes across in the defence, doesn't he? He just when he goes, he goes. Like he's the guy to come over and come across and help the defenders. That's so important for the back six to have a guy like that who can come across and almost make it a back seven, really, a back seven, back eight. So, Acres for me, 2 votes. Weeders, I think we lose by 5, 6, 7 goals if he wasn't playing in that game yesterday. He's good. And 3 votes. I think he's almost sewed up the bagger of the year, Patto. I think I've got to get the graphic ready and I think you got to get the little video out on the Premier Pro. But yeah, Paddy Cripps, 3 votes for me. I thought he was fantastic and led from the front. And once again, he's stepping up in big moments, which is a positive sign heading into the back end of the year, hopefully deep into finals.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think my votes are going to be pretty similar. I wanted to maybe to a stretch bring in Harry Mackay, but then I realised that his second half just wasn't up to scratch. So I think I'm going to go 1 Acres, 2 Weeders, 3 Paddy.
Yep.
And yeah, I think like it's kind of hard. Like when we lose and there's like 1 or 2 players, it's like, oh, who's going to be this third player? But they were probably the 3 or the 4 if you can put Harry Mackay in there as well. But other than that,
Yeah.
it's just not good enough in that midfield and the overall structure. It's just not good enough. So,
Yeah.
Death Boy, before we wrap up the episode, is there anything else you would like to touch on?
Keep the faith. There's no point backing out now. It's round 19. I've read social media commentary and the comments, and people writing us off, and people wrote us off last year. People wrote us off probably that little patch this year of probably pushing the top 2 and top 4, and every game we've got to treat it as we've got to get the job done now. This last 5 weeks, I don't want to see many losses, if not at all, to be honest. We've got to get a good patch of footy because for me, I think the premiership's going to be one off who has the momentum heading into the finals and during it. Really, Patto, like I think this could be the year you could win outside the 4. So
Yeah,
we've got to be the top 2. Got to be the top 2 because anyone get the double chance out at home. You've got to allow for almost a loss in the finals, in a qualifying. You know what I mean? You've got to allow for that loss because if you're a little bit off on a qualifying final and you've only got the one chance, you're out. So yeah, double chance is going to be crucial.
yeah, I completely agree. Like that. I think this is the first season where it's like there's a genuine like if the Pies sneak into 8th, they are a genuine chance as well. So I completely agree, and yeah, that's just why I just think we had the chance to lock up the top 4
I
chances
know.
last night, and we just could not get it done. So, oh well, we move on to next week. I don't think it's.
Yep.
I don't think it's mad. Oh, I know that I said at the start of the episode, massive warning signs, but like it's 2 weeks in a row where you need to start to put some attention to it, and it's the next one. If we lose to North Melbourne, oh my god, oh my golly gosh! And then
Yep.
obviously after that we head into Port and then the Pies. But Deaf Boy, another great episode. Obviously we have to get going because we both very busy today, so we have to try and get a quick episode out. But to every single blue bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube. We are up to about 977, I think, exactly on the YouTube. But also make sure to get around our Spotify and our podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, all those. And also make sure to get around our socials. We're on a lot of socials there. So, yeah, but to every single blue bagger out there, to you, Daffy Boy, as well. Oh, the
Love the
baggers!
bangers.